So something that I think is so incredible about your story. So we were talking the other day and you were telling me a little bit about your first exposure to flow, where you saw flow first. And you were just saying, you had this sense of purpose as a 10-year-old. Can you tell us a little bit about where you saw flow first and how that brought you to that purpose?
I think the major, when I look back now and think about what it was that really got my attention, it was my mother.
Mhm.
Because my mother not only had a tremendous struggle to raise us, but she was also engaged in community affairs, fighting for rights. She was doing marching and, and going up to the school and protesting. And she was just very engaged, a very engaging kind of person. And it made me believe that I could do more. So at 10 years old, that's when I kind of like realized that, you have a role too, you have a responsibility too. And because when I was 8, my dad and my mom, they normally would go out every morning and paint houses. And then my dad would drive a cab at night. And that's how they took care of all 7 of the children. But one night, my dad was in a horrible, horrible, horrible car accident. And he ended up with brain damage, broken bones. He never could function again properly. So my mom was left with 7 children, a 6th grade education. In her 20s, she was like 25 years old with a husband that had brain damage. So to most people, they felt it was okay for her just to go into a hole and just try to survive. But my mom said, no, I'm not going into a hole. I'm not going to sit back and just wait 8 to 10 years. She said, I'm going to bring my children out of these projects, because we were in the notorious Cabrini Green projects, which was the worst projects in Chicago. And my mom said, no, I'm getting my children out of here, and I'm going to cast a vision for them about what success really is. And not only for me, but for anybody who's willing to listen. So that's when and my mom said that because she had a couple of start and goes, because my dad, when she would start going back to school, my dad would stop taking his medicine and would start having emotional, mental problems as a result. So she constantly had to stop and go. Finally, she sent him to live with his mother so his mother could take care of him so she could go on back to school and finish school. And so when she she decided she was going to be a nurse, they told her, you need to lose 35 pounds. She was weighing 165. They said, you need to be 125. So she didn't take that as a no. She just went home and lost 35 pounds and went back. So nothing was going to stop her, because as far as she was concerned, we were her sacred mission. She had a mission, and that was to bring us out of those projects, and nothing was going to stop her. So she ended up finishing school, got an 8th grade diploma, and within these 5 years, she got an 8th grade diploma, a college GED. She got a college degree. She landed a great job, got promoted as supervisor, and moved all of her children out of poverty within 5 years. Now, this was a 25-year-old woman with 7 kids, raising them by herself.
Wow.
Okay. And when I asked Mom, what was your plan B? I mean, what did you have a backup plan? What if this didn't work, this big undertaking that you were planning to take? She said, there was no plan B. There was no not be able to do it. There was no failure. It was just one thing. And that was the sacred mission. And I just felt like, she said she felt like somebody was guiding her steps. Every step, go this way, do this, do that. And she was able to get all the way to the top like that. And when she had gotten her back up against the wall at the end of the last part of that 5 years, and she couldn't get us out of the projects, though she saved money and everything and did everything she could, she didn't have enough money. So she wrote the president of the United States of America. Now, how many people living in Cabrini Green projects was going to write the president, right?
Yeah, right.
So of course he didn't answer the first one. So she sent a second letter, and this time she talked about his speech, because he talked about how people need to be off welfare. It was Richard Nixon, President Richard Nixon, saying people need to be off welfare and all this. And she wrote back, I think people need to be off welfare, and I'm on welfare. I have 7 children, and I've got to get my kids out of these projects. I need help. I need to get in a home for my kids. And that time he wrote back, his office wrote back and told her about a program. 4 months later, we was living in a very prestigious community. I mean, we had ice cream parlors, pizza parlors. We had all kinds of shopping centers, everything, things we had never experienced in the Cabrini Green or even before that. So she took us on a journey in those 5 years, and I watched her in those 5 years. That's what made me know it was possible to do all kinds of things that people say was impossible.